Hello, this is Tim Law with Planet Forward Coaching, always encouraging your self-reliance. If you set a goal for yourself, develop a marketable skill, chase it with a work ethic, develop people skills, be a team player, you'll be amazed as far as what will occur as far as your life is concerned, how it will open up for you. A big thank you to over 430 people that have subscribed to this channel, Planet Forward Coaching. If you haven't already, please do so. I'm very, very happy to be interviewing a gentleman. I literally just met him. It was referred to me by one of my neighbors here, 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝘄𝘼𝑗, Justin Crawford, who is an Air Force pilot. And welcome, Justin. Tell us a little about your story and background, and looking forward to this.
Yeah, hey, thanks. And yeah, it's nice to meet you virtually, at least for the first time, like I said, just recently. So yeah, like I said, my name's Justin Crawford. I am currently serving in the Pennsylvania Air National Guard, a full-time guardsman. I've been in the Air Force really for over 16 years, since 2005. So started at an aviation school called Embry Riddle. Went there for 4 years, from 2001 to 2005, where I also met my wife. Got married shortly after, and then just commissioned in the Air Force and started flying, and kind of bounced around from Oklahoma City to Las Vegas, and then got out of active duty, joined the Guard, and we were living up in Syracuse for a little bit, and finally made our way back to York, Pennsylvania, which is my wife's hometown. So, you know, like they say, happy wife, happy life. So that's what really brought us back here. And I know, as you know, my wife's family has an ice cream business, Beck's Ice Cream. And so we've gotten a little bit more involved with that as well since we've been back here. So we're staying busy with that, with my job. And then we also have 3 kids, 11, 9, and 7, so
Okay.
into sports as well. So we're staying busy with all that stuff, and it's been fun.
Yeah. Well, Jerry and Lynn, I've known them for a long time. They're wonderful people for sure. I briefly met the daughters many years ago. I don't know if they remember me or not, but yeah, I know Jerry and Lynn very, very well. How long were you up in Syracuse for? Because I grew up in Rochester, went to school just above you in SUNY Oswego, Snow Country. How long were you in Syracuse?
Oh, cool. We were there for just 3 years.
Okay.
So yeah, all that lake effect snow started getting to me, I think, in the long winters. So we were there, I think, about, from 2013 to 2016, and then 2016 moved down to the Guard down here in Pennsylvania. So, but yeah, those were some long winters, I'm sure, as you know.
Oh yes, definitely, for sure. So, Justin, you're involved with the Civil Air Patrol. This is where I got linked up with my friend 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝘄𝘼, with your name and everything, and really appreciate you in the short notice, coming on to do this. Tell us a little bit about the Civil Air Patrol, and what some of the goals are with that particular great organization.
Yeah, so I got involved actually while I was up in Syracuse with the Civil Air Patrol. Somebody introduced me to it, and I started to get involved. It's an auxiliary of the Air Force, and I think one of the best benefits that it has is, cadets can join as young as 12 up to, they can actually be a cadet up to 21 years of age, and they have opportunities to get free flights. So powered flights, glider flights, balloon flights. They can get, I think, 5 of each of those.
Wow.
And so if you have a child, especially, even as young as 12, that's interested in aviation, I think it's a great program for them to not only get a taste of aviation and get some, we call them orientation flights. So we just introduce them to flying and go up and fly with them for about 45 minutes to an hour each time. But they also get a little taste of Air Force. And so all the cadets, they're actually wearing the ABU uniform, which was the Air Force's old uniform. The Air Force just retired the ABU uniform, but the Civil Air Patrol cadets are wearing those, and so they're learning, about Air Force heritage, Civil Air Patrol heritage, learning customs and courtesies, and all the things that kind of come with the military. And I think it's a good program for them. It's sort of similar to ROTC. So I feel like a lot of people have heard of ROTC, but not too many. A lot of people I talk to, they just, I tell them, I got involved with Civil Air Patrol, recently, and they're just like, what, they hadn't heard of it. So
Right. Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do right now by talking to you as far as educating people, on this for sure.
yeah, so it's been a good program, and we meet at the York Airport on Tuesday nights, most Tuesday nights, and the nice thing about the program is it focuses on leadership and character development and aerospace, and then even some physical fitness. So there's aspects of all of those things that Civil Air Patrol wants you to cover. And so they've even created curriculums for you. So, on the nights where we cover character development, we either have someone that's taught, I don't know if you would say an expert, but one of the character officers can come in and talk to the cadets, or I can, as the squadron commander at York, just discuss with the cadets a certain topic. So just this past Tuesday, we talked just about humility. And so it's good that they provide a lot of the content for us with. But I think it's good to get it out there, and then so we provide some content, and then we allow the cadets to even just discuss amongst themselves and try to learn from each other as well, not just sit up there and show a PowerPoint or something like that. So it's more of facilitating some discussion on some of those in some aspects as well, and letting the cadets grow in their leadership as well.
Yeah, and how much tie-in, Justin, are there between the Civil Air Patrol? Because you said you were doing one up in Syracuse. Do you guys kind of overlap a little bit? Do you have contacts among the other Civil Air Patrols? How does that work?
Well, there are a lot of Civil Air Patrol squadrons, even just throughout the state of Pennsylvania. And the way that Civil Air Patrol is broken down is each state is its own wing.
Okay.
So you kind of have really just Pennsylvania's wing, and we don't really branch out too much. At least I don't, from our own state. But like when I first moved down here, I was a part of the Civil Air Patrol squadron up at Capital City, and they have a pretty good squadron there, pretty active, and a lot of cadets and a lot of senior members because it's up in Harrisburg. So I know a lot of the folks up there, and then they asked, and I was actually a member up there, and then they asked me to start running the squadron down here in York. And so I moved down here, but there's definitely some interaction, at least amongst the squadron. So I talked to some of the folks up there on occasion, and just bouncing ideas. And we actually we share airplanes, because the closest airplanes are actually at are at Capital City. So what I've been trying to do is, because I'm an orientation pilot, I'll go up, grab an airplane from Capital City, and then fly it down to the York Airport on our meeting nights.
Okay.
That way I can take some of the cadets up flying and just get them some experience flying in the air. So I like to think that's helped to grow it a little bit. We have added some cadets to our roster here recently. At least I think 3 have signed up within the past month. So it seems to be gaining some momentum here. At the York
how many are in the York Civil Air Patrol, Justin?
We have just about 30 total between cadets and senior members. So as an adult, you can join as a senior member to help also participate and help the cadets. But we're about 17 cadets and probably 13 or so senior members.
Okay.
So it's not really big.
Yeah, and out of those cadets, how many would you guess, just with your experience in Syracuse or Capital City or here in York, how many of those, percentage-wise, roughly speaking, kind of would like to go on and, become pilots?
I would say a pretty good percentage of them. I think, I would say at least half of them have some interest in aviation, and and seem to get pretty excited when I say, hey, we're going to bring a plane down. Who wants to go fly?
Yeah.
They get the hands raised. So I would say at least half. There's some, I'll be honest, there are some there that it feels like maybe their parents were like, all right, you need to get involved in something. So I'm kicking you out the door. Go do Civil Air Patrol. So, you may have some of that, but I think for the most part, a lot of them are there because they want to be there, and they do, especially enjoy the aspect of aviation and the flying aspect of it. So
Sure.
I tell a lot of people, people that haven't heard about it, I kind of just explain it as it's like Boy Scouts for aviation.
Okay.
And that seems to make sense, putting those two things together.
Sure.
So
Sure. Well, you have a reasonable number, like I say, maybe almost 50% that are looking to do that. And I know you said you went to Embry Riddle, which, I've heard of that school as being, one of the very best, in the country. What are some of the careers? Let's say somebody goes on to become a pilot besides, you, and thank you for your service for the Air Force, obviously, as far as different careers that these students or cadets could possibly look forward to. What would be some examples?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think the possibilities are kind of endless, honestly. I mean, and we just had a cadet probably right about the time that I started with the York Squadron that enlisted in the Navy, as an example. And I don't remember, because I was new to the squadron and I'm not 100% sure what his job was going to be, but I thought it was something, submarine wise or something like that. But so I think that's one nice thing about it, is it helps them to see what kind of careers are out there, not necessarily just aviation or Air Force, but all the different branches of the service as well. So
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, as far as careers in the military, I feel like I said, I think the possibilities are kind of endless. And there's almost any job you can imagine, even just in the Air Force itself. So but if you want something more unique, like a submarine or an infantryman or something like that, there's also some aspect of that, because there are camps every summer that the cadets are able to attend, and they do a lot of, another obviously big part of Civil Air Patrol is actually the missions that we perform. So if there was a downed aircraft or someone lost in the woods or something like that, a lost hiker, they'll send an airplane up, or Civil Air Patrol started to get drones that they can fly to go out and try to help find, someone that's lost or a downed aircraft. And the aircraft have the equipment to find an emergency locator transmitter that from a crashed aircraft. And so part of what they do is not only teach that aspect from the air, but they'll also teach cadets to go out and do sort of a search party on the ground. And so I think, although I've never attended a camp, a Civil Air Patrol camp, I think that's a part of it, with them actually going and doing some of the outdoor, let's go do a search in the woods, and teach them different aspects of that, and the survival and things like that as well.
Sure. And what are some of the planes that you can that you've flown, Justin, that you've enjoyed flying, and what that's like?
Yeah, so well, for me personally, in the Air Force, I started off flying the AWACS, which is a big radar dome on the back, and it's basically like a flying air traffic control. So I started doing that, did that for a while, and that was interesting. And then within Civil Air Patrol, I've just flown the smaller planes, the planes that you might see at flight school, like a Cessna 172, Cessna 182. So that's what most of the Civil Air Patrol fleets are, just Cessna 172s and 182s.
Sure. Well, and one of the things I try to encourage, as far as, this is geared toward teens and young adults, is this Playing It Forward coaching, is the idea of, developing a work ethic, people skills, teamwork, that kind of thing, going above and beyond the extra mile, etc. What would you say would be some of the key traits that, whether it's a Civil Air Patrol or the Air Force or whatever, that you or people that kind of look for as far as young people are concerned?
Well, I think there's definitely, I would say for me, and what I like to look for these days is, the Air Force has its core values. There's 3 core values in the Air Force: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I really just kind of honed on that service before self, and I think I know that, obviously if you're going to be an athlete, or you're going to be, driven to succeed in life, there has to be some aspect of focusing on yourself, right? But ideally you've done enough of, hey, I've focused on myself. Now I'm at a point where I can think about others and I could serve as well. And that's, I guess that's one of the traits that I think balances, or is displayed in both, Civil Air Patrol and the Air Force, because Civil Air Patrol, of course, is all volunteer service,
Sure.
whereas the Air Force is still volunteer service, but it's service to your country and in the military. But I think there's got to be, you have to have that focusing on others a lot as well, and in order, and I think in some ways, if you're going to be also, focus on others, then you have to maintain your own, abilities as well, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But I just think that that's one thing that it seems like is lacking a lot these days in some ways. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like people are very kind of absorbed in their own world that they forget, and they're not thinking about others and thinking about how their own selves can impact others.
Yeah. Well, that's when you think about the selfies, they're called selfies. They're not called service to others. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah. You think, you see the kids these days, and it's all about Instagram. I mean, my 11-year-old daughter was at a movie party, and she said 2 of the girls were over there on TikTok the whole time. It's just like, you're there to, actually, hang out with other people, but you're just watching, TikTok instead of even focusing on the movie that's there. So,
right.
I think, when people are so focused on just themselves, they forget how much they can have an impact on others.
Sure. Well, it makes a big difference too on how well you learn the communication skills, the body language, facial expressions, etc., that are just so very, very important. And now you were also a soccer player. Now, between playing soccer, Air Force, your Civil Air Patrol, what would you say have been some of the most important life lessons, Justin, as we kind of get closer to concluding this interview here? Some of the most important life lessons you felt you learned, through those endeavors, the soccer, the Air Force, the Civil Air Patrol, and any other direction.
Yeah, that's a big question. Life lessons. I mean, I think, when I think back to my college career, I think about how busy I was, but how much I had to prioritize and how I had to manage my time.
Sure.
And I think, it's funny because I was as an ROTC cadet, I had to block out a certain amount of time for a leadership laboratory in the morning, but then every other morning I had blocked out for flying, and then I had to jam classes in the middle of that, and then I had to practice soccer every day. So I couldn't afford to really lose focus, and I couldn't afford to mismanage my time. And so I think, especially when you think about some of the younger folks coming up, it's, that was a big lesson for me. And honestly, I feel like sometimes when I have too much free time, I don't do it well. It's almost like I need to be busier to be able to force myself to manage my time. But
sure.
But I definitely think that was one of the things that's helped me even now as I get older, and when things do get busier, it's like you go back to that time where you were in college and you were, oh man, I remember what I had to do and I had to make sure that I was prioritizing things correctly. It's just different now. Now I have to work all day and then I have my kids' soccer,
Right.
and then I have, Civil Air Patrol in the evening sometimes. So I think it's always important to, make sure that you're I guess, managing your time well and prioritizing things and maintaining your focus in order to achieve those goals that you have set for yourself.
Sure, sure. What school district are you and your kids in?
We're in the Central School District.
Okay, that's the
So
same one we live in as well. Yeah, yeah. So, but I coach a
yeah,
guys and girls tennis team up at Northeastern. I'm up at that school quite a bit, and so we overlap a lot with Central. We know a lot of Central people and vice versa. So yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. It's been good.
yeah, well, Justin, this has been great. Really appreciate it. Any last parting thoughts before I cut you loose here? And please stick around for a minute or two after we're done.
Yeah, no, I don't really have much else, but yeah, if you do have anybody out there that is interested, I guess, in Civil Air Patrol or even the Air Force for that matter, any questions, active duty, guard, whatever, I'm always
What
happy
would
to
be
answer.
should we try to have them get in touch with you directly, or is there somebody else they should try to reach out to if we put a phone number down? Or
Yeah, no, I'm happy to have them reach out to me directly. If you want to list my phone number in the comments, or I don't know.
Yeah, I can.
If you just want to pass my email on, that might be better, just so they can start with an email.
Okay, yeah, I will make sure that I add that in there. Well, Justin, this has been great, and please hang out for a minute or two after we get done, and make sure you tell give the Becks my very best. Okay, they're great people.
Yeah, definitely will. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, well, we'll pause it here. Thank you again. Yeah, Justin I just wanted to bring him back on for a minute. He had a very cool idea that should be interesting to a lot of teenagers. So Justin, go ahead and share what you were just saying to me.
Yeah, so we were just talking about, one of the experiences that I had with Civil Air Patrol recently, and I thought it was really cool and worth sharing, especially to your listeners and anybody that might be interested in aviation as a career. So as an orientation pilot, like I said, I go up to Capital City to grab the aircraft, and then I'll take it down to wherever the cadets are that are going to fly. This one particular afternoon, I was following a current cadet who was flying, a female who's 16 years old. And as long as you have an instructor sign you off, obviously she's had some flight training leading up to this point, but she was able to solo, and you could solo at age 16. Jeez, and so I was getting the keys to the airplane from a 16-year-old girl. And while I'm waiting there for her to taxi the plane up, I'm talking to her mom and her sister, and her sister's just joking about how, she doesn't even know anything about how to drive a car, but she's out there flying this plane around. And so I think it's pretty awesome to be able to experience that as a 16-year-old. And then at 17, you could even get your private pilot's license. So like I was sharing with Tim, it's something that with you, Tim, I just never knew that when I was that age.
Sure.
And I didn't know that you could actually get that far ahead. But, if aviation is something that you're interested in, I would say, like we talked about, focus on that goal, and you can achieve it even as early as age 17. And that will help you before you even get to college and are able to go on and continue to further your career as a pilot. So
sure. And you were saying too that it would put them way ahead, literally, of anybody going into the school if you were to have that private pilot's license.
Yeah, because once you get your private, then that's just one step closer to building the licenses and the ratings that you need to become an airline pilot. Which is a long path, and a lot of times, people become a certified flight instructor just to build hours. And so the earlier you can get to that point, the earlier you're gonna, I guess, get to the higher ranks in the airline. most airline pilot. I work with a bunch of airline pilots, and they tell you it's all about seniority in the
Uh-huh.
airlines. So the earlier you can start that seniority,
Sure.
the better you'll be. The better you'll be in your career. So.
Sure. Now, I just have one other question for you. You expect this girl, if she gets her commercial pilot's license, will she be having a chauffeur bring her to the plane so she doesn't have to drive? Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, that's true. She may need her mom to drive her to the airplane until she can, get the license to drive at least. That could happen. She could, at 17, she could be flying but not driving. That's true. That could very well happen.
Yeah.
Funny.
Obviously, she'll have that too. No question about it. Well, this has been great, Justin. Thank you again so much for coming back on. Just hang for one more minute. I'll get you rolling here. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tim.